Hello, I'm Tina Smith. I'm a registered nurse working for the last 4 years in district nursing for a couple of different companies. So I did nursing when I was my training when I was about 41, although started it when I had not long left school, but I chose to have a family instead. I'd been a carer for most of the period in between, so all the people that I cared for were sort of elderly and or poorly, and so they all eventually over the years, that 5-year period-ish, they all kind of passed away. And then it was like, oh God, what am I going to do now? So went and tried to do some admin, thinking I might get into that, but no. And it was literally a split decision to go, right, I need to go and do my nursing, and that was it. Went and did the short pre-health, so that was full-time, which probably was a good move for study-wise. So that was done and dusted in the 12 weeks, done. So I am a district nurse, and being that way since I qualified, so it's 4 years. So my role is driving around certain areas in Christchurch or slightly abroad, rural, and medications, wound care for those that can't get to a doctor or their GP to get it fixed, or it's just too hard for them to go anywhere. And why I enjoy it is that I don't have shift work and I don't have to find parking at the hospital. It's just not on a ward. A ward wasn't for me. I think I had always just felt that's what I needed to do. You know, when I was little, I always wanted to be a teacher, and then I kind of lost that one. And then it was nursing, and then it was nursing actually right through my whole high school.
Were you always a caring sort of a person?
Well, I would like to think that I was. Some people might disagree, but yeah, I think I am, yeah. It had its pros and cons. So I had a more mature outlook on life, I suppose, so I knew I needed to knuckle down and study. My nickname was actually Mum during that period of time in my class, which was nice, but then there's this kind of expectation that, well, I felt there was this expectation that I should know everything, and I don't. It's as simple as that. And that's from students and nursing staff and lecturers as well. I've always liked to study, so that side of it wasn't too bad. I had a little part-time job, but not huge, and it didn't really conflict with my nursing training at all. So I could 100% focus on my studies and not worry about anything else. My husband earned enough money to keep us going, so I didn't have to worry about that either. So,
what does nursing in its entirety mean to you?
When I read that question, I actually almost thought, gosh, you get asked that at the start of your nursing when your very first day there, and then if somebody asked me today, I think it would almost be quite different. You know, your first day you sit there and you go, oh yeah, I just want to go and help people, which is what nursing essentially is about. However, on top of that, you've got all the paperwork and all these things, which actually takes away from the caring, because there's so much paperwork and so much other legal stuff you have to follow. It's not just about looking after a human being, because you have to do it the way that the books tell you to, you know? Yeah. I try to stay away from a lot of that political stuff. Yes, I'll follow the policies and the procedures and those sorts of things, but I don't like to get involved in a lot of the political stuff. I just don't. I don't want it. I don't understand some of it either. Look after the people that I'm supposed to look after. Oh, I think it's a great feeling that you've actually done something in the world that helps somebody else. As small it is, and it might just be suggesting that they go to the GP, and then they go to the GP and something's really serious. And it's more of a phew. I know it is a nice feeling to go, oh, thank goodness that I got it right as well. Yeah, you knew something was wrong.
Do you find it easy to make connections with people?
I do.
What do you reckon your strengths are in that area?
I've been quite blessed actually in the fact that I can walk into a complete stranger's home, and I hope that I make them feel like they've known me before. I think I pick up how this person is like, so you know quite quickly if you can have a bit of a joke with them or not, answer their questions, know when to shut up or be the one that instigates the conversation, you know. And I actually have this rule: if you walk into somebody's house that's not smiling, my aim is to have them smile before I leave the house. So it works well generally when you've got an aim or you've got a goal. So I think the core attributes that a nurse needs to really have is empathy is a huge one. And I think you need to put yourself in somebody else's shoes to go, all right, well, I can't if I couldn't give myself my insulin injection, what am I going to do? And it's also about learning to understand if people, or knowing if people are able to actually manage their own healthcare with a little bit of guidance. I think picking up whether these people can do it or not, and with a bit of, you know, health training and things like that, you know, because that is part of what we learn is teaching people how to be health literate, really, isn't it? So enabling people to do what they can in their own healthcare, even if they need a little bit of a hand, but, you know, being independent is what district nursing is also about. So, you know, on a work side of things in that respect is that sometimes we don't do it often enough because we don't have time. We don't have time to guide and to teach. So over the last 4 years, there's been quite a number of standout moments, but I guess the ones that stand out the most for me are probably when the unexpected people pass away. So as an example, Miss H, she was diabetic and she had already had an amputation, terrible wound on the other appendage. She was very difficult at times to deal with. She was always reasonably polite, but sometimes she, you know, you could see she wasn't always resting or keeping it off the, you know. Anyway, and so one particular day went to go and do a wound care and there was no answer on her phone, tried all her contacts and everything, and I'm talking over, this is over a period of time, and then we found out that she'd passed away during the night, and it was just like, what? She was only like in her 40s, I think. She was just a bit younger than I am. Yeah, and she just died. So I don't know why, we weren't told, but yeah, it was a bit of a, you know, when you work with somebody for so long and then all of a sudden it's just like, oh, golly gosh. You get to know these people on a different level. It's not just knowing Miss H at this level, it's going deeper as to why and who she is and her family, because we saw family members off and on over that period of time. Not just about the wound or what we were doing with it. It's a bigger picture, and then they just die. I don't say you get used to it, and you shouldn't, but I think you learn how to be accepting of the fact that these things just, they do happen. There was a time a few years ago that I almost felt emotionless sometimes, and this was even before my nursing, where you just kind of, because I had so many of my oldies pass away, you kind of feel a little bit immune to it a little bit, but then you kind of got to go, well, actually it's not healthy either. You accept it as it is, and it is sad, but you just accept it and write a reflection. Actually, you know, we go on about reflections when we're in nursing and how horrible they are to write, but in actual fact, you know, when you're out in the big wide world to actually do it, it's actually quite therapeutic. And even if you're not sharing it with anybody, another woman who had first one of the day, and she actually started to bleed out while she was in the theatre room. It was all go, as you could imagine, and I had to be the transcriber, and my spelling skills weren't that good. So I'm sitting there stressing out about how to spell a certain drug. Like they said, don't matter, it doesn't matter as long as you know what it is. So that was all fine, but yeah, shoved in that moment was quite intense. So that was my first real kind of intensive moment in nursing. Yeah, but she was fine. Yeah, she survived, and yeah. So what I've found so far in the 4 years of nursing, well, in the district nursing, and I would assume it's probably all over the board, is there's more positive stories than there is negative. It would be awful if it was the other way around, but I guess that depends on what area of nursing you work in. I guess the hospice wouldn't be a great example for that one, but generally speaking, I would say probably 90 to 95% have a positive outcome one way or the other to recovery or managing whatever ailment that they had independently. Yeah. So what I've found what patients need in the regards to their care sometimes isn't always what they physically need. I think mentally, just knowing that sometimes they go, yep, this wound's pretty gnarly, when they might just underestimate it or they've been undermined by somebody else. Just have somebody sort of reassure them that goes, yep, it is not that great, let's do XYZ, or let's try XYZ to see if we can overcome the issue. And it might not be a wound, it might be anything, I don't know. Their pain level or their anxiety even. It's not everybody has the cognitive ability to understand the complexity of their issues as well. So yeah, the support for that person and their environment's a huge part of it. So I guess I'm quite lucky in the fact that a lot of my friends that I have are nurses. So we do debrief a lot very loosely so you don't cross that confidentiality boundary. Within my work area, because I work for a temp agency at the moment, I don't necessarily have that within my own little thing because I don't see anybody. But where I work, they're very good at, we all meet, they generally all come in the morning, so you have that time to talk about patients and what's expected, because I don't have the ins and outs of these people because I'm a temp. So I need to know what's going on for that person. So having that support around is really, really important. And I don't think it's always there sometimes. They say, you know, debriefing and getting there, but I think sometimes it's ignored too much. And there's not given the opportunity to go, righto girls and guys, let's all get in here and we're going to have afternoon tea to sit there and chat about what issues are going on for all of us at the minute. I don't ever think I've ever been to that kind of environment before. It probably does happen, it's just I've never been there. But I guess there is this camaraderie when you go somewhere and you say you're a nurse, you know, if people ask what you do and they go, oh, so am I, or my mother's one, or my sister, or whatever. And there is this sense of pride, yeah, of being something that people actually do appreciate. But I think for me personally, my supports in regards to that in the whole world is just my friends that I have immediately around me. So nursing for me it's getting to the core of the human being that we're looking after and trying to figure out who they are, how they are, and what needs to be done, not just on what we're going in there task-wise to do. It's this bigger picture. It's, you know, the holistic approach. I do enjoy my job. It certainly has its challenges, and I have learned if you don't know, you have to ask. I wouldn't change it for anything now. During probably to begin with, I was like, oh, goodness me. But I wouldn't in the fact that I've put a lot of hard effort into it. And then when I do go to work, I do enjoy it. And I just feel like I'm doing something in this world that's meaningful and helpful.